Good afternoon. Welcome back to Saints AP Bio. Sorry for the mess up on the graphing on the Sheets program. I figured out a couple of glitches and I think I'm ready to walk you through how to create a graph on Google Sheets. So let me share my screen again. Here's the data set we were working with. In the previous video, we walked through how to make all these calculations using Google Sheets. And now we're going to use some of that data to create a graph, a visual. So as I mentioned in the previous video, I like to pull this data out separate. So I just pulled out no exposure and exposure and put the mean. And I'm just going to highlight those things because that's what I want the graph to be based on. I'm then going to hit this button right here that says Insert Chart. And it's not giving me exactly what I want. So I'm going to change some of the parameters on it. I'm going to go to Setup. The x-axis, I don't want it to say no exposure. So I'm going to take that out of there. And I only have one bar, so I need to make a second bar. And the series are the bars. So I've got one for exposure to toxins, but I need one for no exposure. All right? And I can slide those around if I want to. Just have to remove that one, and now I can come back and put it in if you want to switch their places, right? And so now I've got that in the right format that I want, and I'm going to go in and do some customizing of this as well. So first of all, I want to add some labels of chart and axis titles. First of all, look at this box here. It'll tell you what you're changing. So first of all, let's go a chart title. So maybe I want to put something like the effects of toxins on mice tail length. I'm just making it up here. And you'll see that it puts the title up above. You can play around with whether it's bold or it's not bold, what color it is, all that type of stuff, if you so want to change the font. I can also go up here and I can change the horizontal title. I can put in no toxin exposure versus toxin exposure if I want to. Again, I can play around with other parameters like color, size, all that type of stuff. And I'm going to also add the y-axis because I don't think that's properly labeled. I don't like that. So I'm going to change that to mouse tail length. And of course, as you already should know, you're going to put the proper units in parentheses. And you need to spell mouse correctly. So now I've added some necessary materials or labels to the graph. I still need to add my error bars, okay? So I can drop down into here where it says series, and you can see there's a box that says error bars. So I don't want to apply this to the whole series. If I do all series, it'll apply it to both graphs equally, but both graphs do not have the same standard error. So I want to do it for each graph. So I'm going to drop down and I want to do the non-exposure first. I want error bars, and I don't want percent, I want constant. And then I'm going to go back to my stats and look. My standard error was 0.59. So I'm going to change this constant to literally 0.59. And it's going to add an error bar. You can barely see it. The only thing I don't like is you can't control the color of the error bar, so it's sometimes hard to see. And then I'm going to go back up and I'm going to do the same thing for exposed to toxins. In this case, the standard error was 2.09. Now, if you'd rather use the confidence index, you could put those numbers in instead if you want a much higher standard. So error bar, constant, 2.59. That's what it was, correct? No, 2.09. Glad I checked. And that's going to add the bar to that graph. Okay, And that puts you in decent shape there. Again, you can play around with that, change any of the colors, change any of the font. Another thing I like to do, the data labels, is I like to change them to white. The default is they're typically the same color as the graph and you can't see it. So if you look at the red graph, I'm going to change the font to white. And now I can see the numbers. I can bold those numbers if I want to, so that they stick out a little bit more. I'm going to go back and do the same thing to my non-exposure graph. All right. I'm going to, so I can change the color of the graph format here if I want. I can make that fuchsia if I wanted to, but I'm going to stick with the blue right now. And I'm going to go down here and change the font on this one. Where'd you go for me? That's under error bars, okay. So you have to go under error bars again. That's why I couldn't find it. Data labels, and under data labels, I can make it white. It's already white. I can make it bold, yada, yada, yada. So sometimes I like having those on there as well. Now, the only thing I don't like is these are so small, I can't really see. I can clearly see in this case that the error bars don't overlap. This is indicating there is a significant difference in the tail size, but I still don't like that they're so small. And if the two graphs were closer, it can be very difficult to tell. So that's when you're going to want to go in and change the scaling for this. Okay. So I want to change the vertical axis. That is what I'm most interested in. So I can change the minimum and maximum values. I don't really need to go all the way down to 0. I don't want to focus in on that. So I'm going to go a minimum value of 25 and a maximum value of 55. And notice it's enlarging that graph so I get a better picture. I can see the error bars a little bit better. And I can see there's not a chance in the world that those error bars are overlapping. I mean, I could make it even tighter if I wanted to. You just don't want to go out of your range. So make sure you're scaling the graph so the error bars are easy to see so we can see that if there's overlap or no overlap. Again, if you wanted to do the confidence index bars, you do the exact same thing. You just put in the confidence index numbers instead of the standard error numbers. Once this graph is made, you can move it to wherever you want. You can copy and paste it and put it into a report. Copy the chart, publish the chart. You can do all types of things with it. So that's the basics on how to make at least a bar graph with error bars. So you can either display the standard error or the 95% confidence index. I hope that helped. Thank you for watching and have a great day.